it messed with every area of my life. The relationship with my mom, my career, my body, my husband, my friends, my self-care, literally everything. And so I'm like, I've got a mentor story for everyone if matrescence is really going in like hard on one area of your life.
Hello, hello, and welcome to For the Love of Self podcast. This is your host, Heather Murphy. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm really excited to get back to the podcast, and I'm super excited for today's guest, Kendra Williams. She is a matrescence life coach. And if you don't know what that means, just hold on to your pants because it's going to rock your world. When I first heard this term, I felt so seen and so validated. So, if you are a mother who feels completely lost and confused in motherhood and feeling a lot of anxiety over this transition that you're going through in motherhood, I really know that you're going to get so much from Kendra today. She is such a beautiful soul and has so much to share with mothers out there as well as the rest of the world. We should really be educated on this transition of going from the maiden to the mother. Today, she is going to tell us what matrescence is. She is going to give us a little bit of her background and her experience with it, as well as some really helpful tips on how to get through this time period. And then you'll be invited into an opportunity if you're feeling called to work with her in her one-to-one coaching. And she's also going to be launching a group program pretty soon, which I'm super excited to learn more about when that is launched. Before we get started today, I wanted to let you know that my best friend Shauna and I have started a group for mothers all around spirituality and manifestation. It's called the Abundant Mother Collective. And it's all about mothers getting together so they can share their wildest dreams in a safe group where we can just talk about all of our woo woo things. We've been meeting once a month on Saturday at 8 a.m. It's usually the first Saturday of the month. However, we have actually had to reschedule for this month because currently I'm literally in the process of finishing my last finals for my first year of grad school to become a therapist. So let's just say it's been a little bit nutty lately, which is why I haven't been around to record the podcast much. But I wanted to invite you into this free community. We also have a very affordable virtual retreat that we're putting together. And it consists of some incredible tools that we have been using to manifest the life of our dreams. This includes things like somatics, breath work, microdosing, as well as expressive arts. And so these are the tools that we'll be implementing in this incredible, accessible virtual retreat. So if you're a mom and you've always wanted to have that transformative experience in the retreat environment, but you don't have the time or maybe even the money to travel right now, this could be such a great introductory opportunity for you as a mom to have that retreat experience that you would normally get when you go travel somewhere and get to be in a group of mothers. We're going to meet for 3 days. It's going to be for 2 hours each of those days. So it's super easy to maybe arrange some babysitting or whatever you need to create a nice container for yourself to have a few days to integrate into some new belief systems, to really call in what you're desiring. We're going to be doing some soul mapping. So, really getting at the core of what you truly desire. It's going to be so fun, and we're really looking forward to it. The cart is actually already open. So, if you go to the link in the show notes, you can actually get signed up. There's even a payment option if you're needing that. We can split it into two. But go ahead and get in there and claim your spot because spaces are limited for this. Now, let's go ahead and get started with this incredible episode with Kendra. I can't wait to hear what you think. Go ahead and share on Instagram, comment, let us know what your takeaways were, and go follow Kendra over on Instagram and TikTok. And have a beautiful day. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy this episode. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm very excited today for our guest, Kendra Williams. I actually discovered her on Instagram when she was discussing the idea of matrescence. And I said that correctly,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Gold star. Yes.
I kept repeating it before this podcast. I wanted to get it right. And so much to what you were speaking to. I feel like I'm already going to start crying because I'm like, I felt so seen and
Yeah.
validated. So that's going to be the heavy hitting topic of today. But we also just want to get to know you because really on this podcast, I want mothers to be able to come here and just feel expanded by other women's stories. So we want to get to know you as well,
Mm.
not just your work, but what you got going,
Okay.
how old your kids are, whatever or if you want to share that.
Yeah.
So, Kendra, thank you so much for being here. Say hello to everyone.
Hello, everyone. Heather, thank you for having me. This is going to be really fun. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's going to be so great. I think that this topic needs to be brought to Congress and
I say it should be on the pregnancy test. It should be on the baby bottles. Like if you buy a cigarette, you may get cancer. If or
yeah.
excuse me, let's reverse. This should be on condoms. If you
Yeah.
conceive,
Yeah.
if you are thinking about maybe having a baby, matrescence is in your future. Like literally, it
Yes.
should be that clear.
Yes. So let's just go right there because
Yeah,
I do want to give you a chance to like fully introduce yourself. But
sure.
first, what is matrescence?
Yes, matrescence is one, it is hard to say. It sounds, but the reminder is matrescence, adolescence, matrescence, adolescence. It was modeled after that term in the 1970s, mind you. This has been around for 60 years. So, matrescence was coined as a term to describe the process of becoming a mother, the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, psychological, economic, find everything. This has nothing to do with preparing for the baby or parenting. It has nothing to do with the soul coming from the other side. This is literally all about you and how you navigate the world. And matrescence is technically like the term postpartum, where it lasts forever. But women are really going to feel like the tilt, I call it, like your inner world just goes and tilts. You'll feel it for 1 to 3 years. When you finally surrender to it, it's going to take 1 to 3 years for all of your inner world and your values and your goals and your hobbies to kind of settle out. And the issue is when we don't know what the hell is happening inside of us and we think we're supposed to be a mom overnight. And Instagram tells us everyone else is crushing it. We're like, there's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
So,
I-
yeah, matrescence really is just the word is so validating. I think you said it was tears when you first heard about it. There's usually two reactions. I had the other one. I was fucking angry. I looked up at all of the other women who were mothers and I was like, why didn't you fucking tell me that literally
Yes.
everything was going to change? I thought it'd be my body
Yeah.
for a little bit, some bad sleep, hormones, but like maybe 6 months. And then you just see women in the world crushing it. I thought we'd all get back on the bandwagon. And I was like, how dare they keep this a secret?
I
And
feel that. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was just going to say, and then once the anger goes away, beneath anger is always grief. I get to the sadness of, oh my God, I feel so seen. Oh my God, I make so much sense. Oh my God, I'm not crazy. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
God.
Oh
It's
my
this
God.
beautiful word that I think there's not a lot of work to do with matrescence. It's like adolescence, and that you can't like speed up adolescence. Who's going to get acne? Who's not going to get acne? Who's going to go through the lanky phase or the angsty phase? It's literally just a portal that you must go through. You can get support, but you got to go through it. So there's comfort in that. And I know there's also fear in that because you're like, what is this portal? But every single woman who has a child, biologically or not, will go through it.
Mm, yeah. I feel it. I have so much to say, but I want to get to know you more and I want the audience to get to know you more. So, do you feel comfortable with sharing
Yeah.
like your personal journey with this?
Oh, yeah.
Like where like I if I remember correctly, you said you had a corporate background and then
Hmm.
yeah, so do you feel can you kind of take us on a journey of like
Yeah.
coming to matrescence?
Yeah. So to paint the picture, I'm born and raised in California, Silicon Valley. So it wasn't far off that I would end up going to college, getting a tech job, making a shit ton of money, feeling like I've got it all figured out. I bought a house at 25. I bought it. I was with my husband. I was like, I'm crushing everything I do. I crush it. AKA I was severely anxious. And then I
Yeah.
decide I've crushed everything. I've never really wanted kids, but like I'm old enough. I have all the things. This is like what you do. Let's go ahead and have a child. And then it was just labeled colic for the first 9 months. And I had decided to stay home because I'm like, let's stay home for a year. And it was the worst year of my life. It was not colic. He's neurodivergent. There was a lot of things going on that were just, he was too young. And then I accidentally got pregnant at 11 months postpartum. So then I'm really not sleeping. I'm missing my old life where I knew I was good. I knew what to do every single day. The world was mirroring back to me that I was crushing it. And in motherhood, I was like, I'm failing everything. Like he's not sleeping, he's not eating. I can't do this. Um, and I think it was 2.5 years in, I finally said, I cannot like be a stay-at-home mom anymore. Like I miss a part of my old life. Like I'm not saying I hate my kids, return to sender, but like I must return to the adult world. And I decided, wait, that feels like a cop out.
Mhm.
Like I actually don't need to go back to work. I had the privilege of being able to stay home. And I was like, I'm only going back to work and saying that I want to make money and saying that I want to provide because I'm running away from what's here.
Mhm.
And just a lot of screaming, a lot of drinking wine, a lot of just hating the world. I started therapy. I started working out. I started doing all of the outside things. And then one day I was scrolling Instagram and saw this word matrescence, matrescence. And I was like, holy shit, that's what I'm going through. Yes, my children were 2 under 2 and there was neurodivergence. It was obviously hard, but what I was struggling with wasn't the children. It was missing the outside validation. It was missing the productivity. I had gained a lot of weight. I've never had a weight issue before motherhood. It was just very easy for me to maintain my weight. And I like ballooned 30 pounds in 6 months after. Like everything about me had changed. And I was blaming it on my son. Poor guy. I mean, he
Mhm.
wasn't sleeping. Of course, the world was telling me. I even had doctors say, you don't have postpartum depression. You don't have postpartum anxiety. I was begging for a diagnosis so I could make sense. Like, put me in a box, make me like hang out with my people, right? And they're like, no, you just have a hard baby. And I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do with that? Just wait until he grows up? There's got to be something else. And even back then, I can picture myself walking around my messy house, little one in the mama room, toddler screaming, being like, I have a sleep coach, I have an OT, I have a PT, I have all this help for my son. Who can help me? This isn't like, this isn't postpartum depression. Like, what is this? And then I went down the rabbit hole of matrescence. And now I believe matrescence, it really is this portal to go in. It's like a snow globe that shakes up your life and it shows you things you did not know were there before. Like my lifelong anxiety was just hyper workaholism before. I got rewarded for my anxiety. I never slept. I couldn't blame my kid. I never slept before parenthood. And so I was like, oh, matrescence was the opportunity to clear out all the gunk and then choose what I want to like keep moving forward. And it became, I mean, it changed my entire life. And it doesn't always need to be that terrible feeling. Sometimes it's great. Um, but I feel like it changed my life. It saved my life. Like I was obviously crushing it on the outside before, but I knew I was not happy the whole entire time. I think I had my son at 30 and I was like just playing life. Now I'm alive. Like this was the gift was it cracked me open and I finally got to go in and find me. So that's why I'm online talking about matrescence. I have a whole coaching business helping women when they're like something's going on here. It's not the kids. It's I'm not going to succumb to just therapy for the rest of my life or medication for the rest of my life. Like I'm going to get to the root of this. Matrescence is this opportunity and I think you're listening to my podcast. It messed with every area of my life, the relationship with my mom, my career, my body, my husband, my friends, my self care, literally everything. And so I'm like, I've got a mentor story for everyone if matrescence is really going in like hard on one area of your life. So that's how I
Yes.
got here.
I know it's like it was destiny for you, it seems
Yeah.
like, because as I've been just slowly working through your podcast series, I can relate. Even just looking at the titles, I was like, yep, yep, yep. Like
Yeah.
marriage, self-care, balance, like all this stuff.
Yeah.
And it does really it's kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Our culture sort of just undermines this idea of like, oh yeah, it's crazy, but you'll get through it. It's
Yeah.
that thing that you said where it's like the anger of some of our cultural problems on so many
Hmm.
levels. The social support is a big one for me.
Yeah.
Um, and then to touch on, like you mentioned, going to the doctor, whether one's child has neurodivergence or whatever might be going on with your child, it's like you're still going through this tunnel, right? Or
Yeah.
this journey or this snow globe is how you described it. And so we have to remember to take care. Like, why don't people look out for the moms,
I know. I even when my son was getting diagnosed or really misdiagnosed at that point in time,
Yeah.
they obviously did all of these evaluations. And I'm like, if you would have evaluated me, you would have learned that I had a severely disorganized attachment style.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't look mentally, I wasn't mentally ill. I was thriving. But if
Mhm.
you scratched the surface inside, I was not okay. That
Yeah.
definitely my inability to sit with my child's discomfort for a year and a half definitely affected him and will probably honestly affect him for the rest of his life. Repair is possible, but those were really formative years. And
Yeah.
I was so maxed out already, like before motherhood, that when he came in and screamed for 9 effing months and never slept, um, I never some people scream at babies in extreme situations. I just was emotionally I was just not there. And then
Right.
he looked like he wasn't connecting. And I was like, now looking back, I'm like, he was misdiagnosed with autism. It wasn't
Hmm.
autism. I believe my inability to be present with him caused him to look like he couldn't connect. And they blamed, quote unquote, blamed him. He got the scores on the evaluation. I was like, that was me. I can say I
Hmm.
have no shame in saying that because I needed to own that so I could heal and be the leader and the mother for him that I am
Yeah.
today. But I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, I was there, I was talking, I wasn't pretending or like trying to hide anything more than I hid my whole life that I'm not enough and ever someone's going to find out that I'm like a terrible, just shouldn't even be on this earth person.
Mm.
But I'm like, I
Yeah.
got it. I'm going to do everything for my baby. They just thought I was this nice little mommy. And I'm like,
Yeah.
uh, I mean, I am, but there's also just more to the
Yes.
story.
There's more to the story. We have many parts to us.
Many parts. Yeah.
And I was going to touch on like, the postpartum aspect or postpartum depression. You were saying, oh, it wasn't
Mm,
postpartum depression. And it's really interesting because that's what I'm studying right now in school. And Um, I think again to touch on like often there's like three different things. There's maternity blues, which often gets brushed off as like, oh, it's just baby blues, no
mhm,
big deal. It's just baby blues, which fucking feels like shit. And
mhm.
then there's of course postpartum depression, and there's postpartum psychosis, which is really well displayed in the movie Totally, if you haven't seen that
Yeah.
for the listeners. But with that, as I'm like reading about different treatments because my specialty is in art therapy, the what they're seeing is that they really have to treat the baby and the mother and assess the baby and the mother together. So it's really interesting what you're touching on, how it's like he was misdiagnosed because I mean,
Yeah.
not that you were being diagnosed, but you were misdiagnosed, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They weren't looking because it's
Yeah.
crazy to think about how like really baby and mom are one for
Yeah.
like at least a year, right?
Yeah.
So
Well,
it can be
I
confusing.
it's so confusing, but that also plays into the idea for non-traumatized mothers where you come into motherhood and you are the mother. It is instinctual, it is natural. You're going to enjoy it and you're going to know what to do. Because we're
Yeah.
assuming that every single woman who becomes a mother has healed all her trauma, has a secure attachment style, has a village not to support her physically, but can support her skills of nurturing. I didn't
Hmm.
have any of that.
Yeah.
And in the same way they assume that I'm the adult, so it must be the child if there's an issue. The women say, I'm the adult, so I must be the issue. It's like, no, I've never seen a baby being born. I've never seen a mother learn how to nurse. I've never
Thank
babysat a
you.
baby. I've never babysat a toddler. I've never driven in a car with like, I've done nothing. And you let me just take this thing home. Like,
I
it's
relate so
crazy.
much.
It's crazy. And then we all do, yes, we all do it and bootstrap up and do it. But like, let's acknowledge my whole thing. I'm not a doctor. I'm just a lay person. So much of
Mhm.
postpartum depression is just an appropriate response to our society. You're living in
Hmm.
toxic air. Of course you're going to be fucking depressed.
Yeah.
Your
I
people
mean,
don't
for
support you.
your people don't support you. I was so isolated the first year of my daughter's life. And that's not because my husband wasn't around. I mean, he wasn't because he was working like a
Yeah.
dog.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just for a variety of reasons, I didn't have family around and yada yada yada. So whatever people's situation, even if they do have family around, sometimes it's just not supportive enough because
Yeah.
everyone's working all the
Even if
time or
it's the
whatever.
Brady Bunch, usually people our age, their parents are still working. No one can actually
Yeah,
come hang with you all day. Like
exactly.
it's literally, I like to tell people, like, you go from living this whole vibrant adult life, whether mine looked vibrant on the outside, whether you like it or not. And then you literally go to hanging out 8 hours by yourself with a blob. Like, I don't
Yeah.
care. It's not like, do you love your baby or not love your baby? It's like you're an
No.
adult human being who requires connection. And then I had an amazing partner, but he worked. So he was
Yeah.
gone and he was gone on day 6. So I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'm going to stare at the screaming baby for the next year. This sucks balls. Like, what the hell am I doing here? And I did my best. I remember type A here. I had a Google spreadsheet of like 10 libraries, and I would hit up as soon as all the shots were on that baby. I'm at every single library. I'm going to every possible lunch with the women after. But even so, that's like 2 hours a day out of 24, man. That was not enough time. So everyone's like, good for you for getting out. And I'm like, well, then it's just me and Netflix.
Yeah. And nap
Like,
time and nursing
that's
and
crazy making. It literally, I'm like, if you're enjoying being isolated, I think that says more about the problem than what we're talking about.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I didn't even know what a play group was until my daughter was like well over a year old. So I
What
don't
did you
know.
do? Were you staying
Don't
home?
know. I was at home and
What did you
so
do?
I just went for walks and so I'll tell you a couple things. So on the 6th day of my postpartum, I called my university because I had not finished my degree in college, and I was
Okay.
determined to because I had a total panic attack, and I was like, "What have I done with my life?"
Yeah.
Not that I made the biggest mistake, but I was like, "I have to be a good role model. Like, I need a career. Like, da da da." And I won't get into like my history pre-baby, but like I didn't have I was in a very dark world. Let's just say that.
Okay.
And so yeah, like coming into being a mom, I like was looking to Instagram and Pinterest to be like, how do I be a mom? Okay, I shop at Target. I like get these cute little things. Everything has to be neutral. And
Yeah.
like I was literally looking for social influence to figure out how to do this because I didn't babysit kids either. I was like not interested in being a mom. And until like we did talk about getting pregnant, but it was kind of like if it happens, it happens. And then it's just the same thing, like you said, where it's like, why didn't anybody tell me that this is
Yeah.
for me? And then I just, as soon as I could, I went back to the gym because they had 2 hours of daycare. So I
Okay.
think it was 6 or 8 weeks postpartum. I was
Oh my
allowed to
God.
go back to the gym. So I would go work out, sit in the steam room. I had like 2 hours, I said, and that was my alone time. And then I would come home and I was strict about nap time. Like I just wouldn't
Mhm.
go. I was like, nope, that's our nap time. Like, so as soon as I got back from the gym, she would nap. So I had about 4 hours without like a lot of,
I
you
would
know,
die for that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I know that's not easy for everyone because
Yeah.
other moms I talk to are like, oh, the I don't know. I was so lucky. I feel lucky because my daughter was a pretty easy baby, but I still was going crazy. Like
Yeah.
and that's in terms of that school thing, I tried to go back and do it online. 6 days I postpartum. I don't even know what I was thinking. I was like, I had like only a
You had a
few
hormone surge. You're
classes.
like, I'm going to do everything. Oh, wait.
Yeah. And 2 weeks later I had like a meltdown. Totally had to drop out. But I did end up going back and finishing my degree when she was 18 months old. So that was like I felt like I started to come back
Yeah.
around 18 months, but then still there was still so much, it's just it is this whole journey, and even now we were just talking pre-recording, just like how like my daughter's 7, you have your 7-year-old and a 5-year-old, you said, and
Mhm.
like I don't know, they're just fun now.
They're
There's
so
still
fun
challenges,
now.
but it's like it's fun.
Well, it's interesting. So, tying this to matrescence, well, there's a couple things I
Yeah.
want to say, just like educationally. So, technically, matrescence starts either the moment you start planning to conceive, because that you're
Hmm.
usually going to start taking different care of your body. You're going to start looking at your money different. You're going to start planning your future differently. If you're not planning and it's an oopsie, your life changes when you find out you're pregnant.
Hmm.
Um, that's when matrescence technically starts. Now, when do people normally feel it? 1 to 2 years in, because we're like
Yeah.
in baby hell, like me, or you're in baby bliss, maybe like you. And then you lift your head up appropriately. We're not in that like infant stage. And we go, oh my God, the world is so different.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
you're like, maybe you used to have a fire relationship and it's been in a dip, and you're like 2 years in and you're like, wait, we haven't really come back. And I don't really want to work 60 hours. And I used to want to do that. So around the 2 year mark is usually when women go, I think I'm, having that existential crisis.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
not, it starts early, could be terrible, and you might want to call it postpartum depression or anxiety. Um, but when it becomes this kind of holistic life transition, which is really what it is, it's 1 to 2 years in. And then the last educational piece I want to share is that it is cyclical. So the analogy I like to use is that mom is one of the many hats we wear, and we are the women wearing the hat. So when
Mhm.
someone has forgotten who they are, they are trying to measure up to what you think a good this does this hat look good? Do you like this hat? Should I change the color? Should I be bigger, smaller? You forgot you're the woman wearing it. The caveat is when your hat shifts, when your kids were home with you and now they're in school full time, or if you and your husband divorce, or if there's a death and your hat is shifted, you will go
Yeah.
through the portal again, meaning everything's going to change. So women, I
Mm.
talk to women, I don't coach with these women, but just in my communities, there's women with kids going off to college, the empty
Mm.
nesters.
Mhm.
They're not in menopause. This isn't like a rite of passage they're going through. They're going through another cycle of matrescence where it's okay, my mom hat is now, I'm pretty much just moved from caretaker in the beginning to coach in the middle. And now I'm a counselor mom. I come for advice. And what do I do with my time? And who am I be outside of my kids? And so it is this beautiful kind of framework for to help you orient inside of yourself, because we don't really get it until we become a mom, but it literally it just puts a lens. It's like the motherhood filter, if you will, like the Instagram motherhood filter over every single area of your life. So
Mm.
I personally love this cycle of matrescence when they're both and my daughter starts kindergarten next year, because I'm like, everything's different. The car seats are gone. I feel like we as a family unit were more free. I'm just the mental space of how I view everything is just so different. It's not just them, but them entering that actually does change so many things.
Yeah, it absolutely does. I feel that it is all these little things like the snacks and the diapers and the car seat, all these,
Yeah.
and they become responsible. She brings the things that she wants to bring, and it's cool to see that where she's like she remembers to practice piano on her
Yeah.
own, and all this stuff to see them become these little humans. So it does get better.
It gets so
So
much better.
every
I was joking. If you have any moms of neurodivergent kids, this is going to feel like a slap in the face, but this is what I needed. My son was a terrible sleeper, like never slept more than like 8 hours a night ever. Napped for like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
He finally started sleeping well at 7 years
Mm,
old. At
mm,
7, I'd be on
yeah.
my baby tracker app being like, okay, this Instagram account tells me the wake window is this and this and this, and this person's sleeping through the night at 4 months and this. And I was so effing obsessed with sleep. And I wish I would have just threw it all out the window. We tried everything. We tried every sleep training thing. We tried all the magnesium. Son was not going to sleep until his body got used to being in this world. It was too much for him. And at
Mm.
7, we're cruising, man. Bedtimes are great.
Oh, I love
And I
it.
wish I could just go tell old Kendra, like, I know it sounds ridiculous, but just give it up, girl. Give it up.
Yeah. Just roll with
Cut,
it.
cut the stress. Like,
Yeah.
this is what it is. I fought it for so long. And that's a whole new phase for us because we're like, wow, we don't have to fight every single bedtime. What?
Yeah. I love
For
that.
the world.
Well, so where can women, mothers really begin this journey? I know you're working as a
Yeah.
coach and guiding women through this matrescence. snow globe.
Snow
Can
globe.
you
Yeah.
give us can you give us either some tips or some sort of like I don't know, idea of being guided with you?
Yeah. Well, for when it comes to the snow globe, I think the best advice is, as cheesy as it sounds, is just be kind to yourself. This is, I
Oh.
think, the best mindset we could have in motherhood is ironically the beginner's mindset. Like, I have 2 kids, but I've never been this age before. I've never been a parent to a 7 and a 5-year-old before. I've never had the lessons I've had before. To think that we're going to figure this out at some point is ludicrous, crazy making. Um, Matrescence, if you lean in with this beginner's mindset, it gets, I believe, gets to be the most beautiful, like personal development journey where you crack from your maiden self, is the term, into your mother self. And if you choose to go in there with a guide like me, it gets to be so beautiful and you find treasures in there that you wouldn't find any other way.
Mhm.
So I,
Yeah.
I think it's just this magnificent opportunity to find out like really who you are and then love from that place, lead from that place, parent from that place. Like really our intuition's at the bottom of that, like kind of cracking of matrescence. Um, and then as far as like working with me, I would push everybody to my podcast. I have it set up as like a free course right now. It's 12 kind of bite-sized episodes. And it's an introduction of how matrescence does, or like kind of like, I wouldn't call them red flags. What should I say? Sorry, can you hear that?
Uh-uh.
Well, my phone's going off. You can cut that out. Um, each episode is like an introduction to what to look out for. So when you go, oh my God, what's
Mhm.
going on with my marriage? You can say, okay, I don't need to divorce him. I don't need counseling. Let me go quickly go listen to this 5-minute thing. I think matrescence might be doing this. Or what happened to my body? This is a
Yeah.
great example. A lot of people think the body issues are your physical body, which, okay,
Mm.
those were always there. But the most insidious stories I work with when it comes to matrescence is if you struggled to get pregnant, didn't have the birth you wanted, or didn't nurse as long as you wanted, the news stories that, if not broken early, will continue on are my body is broken. I don't
Mhm.
work. And that's way
Mhm.
different than I have a mom belly right now. I can't get to the gym. And those
Mhm.
are the stories that I work on is what stories formed at the beginning of this portal when you didn't know you were going through it.
Yeah, I just want to touch on that too, real quick, because like I said, my daughter's 7 now, and I just started pelvic floor therapy. And I'm like, why is this not standard? I have been walking around with a gaping vagina.
Yeah.
No, but I just have felt so off. And I think that there's this again, these societal ideas of like, oh, that's normal. That's just how it is. You
Oh
kind
my
of feel like you're gonna
God.
pee your pants all the time. And it's like, why does this stuff, yeah, these
I'm
messages.
over this. I posted this on my Instagram today, but there's this account. It said something like, sometimes it's easier to do it yourself than to ask for help. And I'm like, let's stop normalizing being fucking terrified and traumatized.
Yeah.
This isn't
Yeah.
normalizing how hard it is. You are normalizing perfectionism. You are normalizing anxiety. You are normalizing not trusting other people. You are normalizing
Yeah.
this. You are normalizing peeing on your. I peed on myself this morning. I'm not normalizing it, but it happened because I was in dance
Yeah.
class.
Yeah,
But like,
exactly. It happens.
it's this online culture of just it sucks and then you move on. No,
Yeah.
it does not need to suck. It only needs to suck if you don't want to take advantage of this opportunity to say unsubscribe from that. I call it the bounce
Yeah.
forward. We're never supposed to bounce back. Definitely not
Yeah.
physically, no, mentally, no, spiritually. I always say you're going to bring life from the other side of the universe and then go back to being the same freaking person. It's just, it's not like a God or any religion thing. Like you got to be changed. If
Yeah.
you acknowledge it, if you lean into it, it will change every ounce of your being in a good way. Not like I'm damaged goods and I was hotter and quicker and more fun and more vibrant before. That's that story of normalizing all of that. I'm like block, 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 block online. Like that, I can't even see
Mhm.
that in my feed.
Yeah, I felt like I had to stop following a lot of people once I had my daughter just because a lot of them were childless also. And I think
Yeah.
that transition was hard because I was like, I'm like, why can't I be like this person? And I'm like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, they don't have kids.
Yeah. I always say
Um,
I'm not discounting women who can't or who have chosen not to have kids. Like,
oh sure.
good for you.
Yes.
But if
Yeah.
I see a woman with six abs, I'm way more impressed if you're a mom. If I see a woman running a business, way more impressed if you're a mom. If I see you doing anything that you love, taking time for yourself, I love that. But I love it
Yeah.
even more if you're a mom. Like
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I put mothers on a pedestal and I'm like shameless about it. It is an invisible weight that we carry with us all of the time to be labeled a mother and what it means to be a mother and then to take the responsibility of raising the next generation is like insurmountable to carry
Yeah.
around. I'm in total awe of mothers and it does
Mm.
not need to be this hard. It does not need to suck. It is does not need to be isolating either.
Yeah. Yeah, it does not. And I think just by doing things like getting in a community like yours where, and I don't know how you have your coaching setup or whatever, but it's like just being able to connect with either if it's just you or if you have a community connection or something, it's
Yeah.
like even online, I know that made a huge difference for me. Like I
Yeah.
met my best friend on Instagram who is also mom. We voice note every day, all day,
That's like
and we
me and
just
my
get to, yeah,
bestie.
exactly. So it's like it doesn't, even though I wish we lived next to each other,
Mhm.
just these sort of things like building community, connecting,
Yeah.
getting in with coaching to get guidance. Having my daughter saved my life and
Yeah.
changed me spiritually and everything. So I love the bounce forward idea that it's like, now you are a brand new woman, like step
And
into a
this
new
is a good
day.
thing.
It is a
Yeah.
good thing.
I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know how to spread this message yet because I'm like so pro mother. There's actually a term called matricentric feminism. It's not that women or not, it's not that mothers need to be centered in the world, but we acknowledge that mothers are different than women. Like in a brand scan, they can tell
Mm,
who is a mother and who is not.
yeah.
Biologically, when you're treating a woman, we should know in a doctor's office if she's a mom or not. She's
Yeah.
different. We're different. And it's not better, but I'm in the camp right now. So I'm just team mother.
I'm in the
So it's
same
a
boat.
full bounce forward, baby. Full bounce forward.
Oh, I'm so glad that you're sharing this message. And I just can't wait to have my community come to you because I know that so many women need support right now that are, taking care of these little babies and
Yeah.
just the acknowledgement of mothers. Like I love that, the role that they play in our
Yeah.
society. We need to look out for them. So
We do.
speaking of which, yeah, Mother's Day is like right around the corner.
I know. Mother's Day, sending love to all the mothers who don't have mothers, who love their mothers, who hate their mothers, who love being a mom, hate being a mom, don't know what
Yeah.
they are doing. Like, this is such
Yes.
a cluster of a holiday when you're in the middle of the family tree. There's so many new ways to look at this holiday. It can get overwhelming, but you,
Yes.
mothers, are doing an amazing job. I want to talk to your audience and be like, you're listening to this, you care about
Yeah.
what you're doing and you're learning and seeking support and guidance and that is what a good fucking mother does is getting in community
Yeah.
really that's like my standard.
Yeah. I love that. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast today. I really feel like this was so juicy, and I really would love
Yeah.
to have you back again and just continue this conversation. I think that so many mothers out there feel so unseen sometimes and feel invalidated about what they're experiencing. And
Mhm.
just like I mentioned, this idea of taking into account there's a variety of factors going on when we are going through motherhood, marriage, body, career. So
Everything
your life is a snow globe.
is a snow globe. I like to say motherhood is about you and mothering slash parenting is about the kid. And if you look on Instagram, if you look in the parenting part of any bookstore, it's going to be about the kids.
Yeah,
It's
that's true.
I think this is just an output of like not living in communities, having nuclear families, not being multi-generational. They didn't need to know the term matrescence 100 years ago. They just spoke about it and they saw women transforming. Um, so I think if we realize, just remember that motherhood is about you. Like you as an individual are separate from your child in evolution, and they're having their own evolution. And you two are a team, but you're on your own roller coasters, and motherhood's yours.
Beautiful. Thank you again.
You're
I will make
welcome.
sure that we link your podcast. Definitely go
Yeah.
listen to the podcast. It's a sweet series and very educational. And is Instagram the best place to go hang out with you? You want to share any other handles and
Yeah.
stuff?
Both Instagram and TikTok, Kendra Marie Williams, my full name.
Amazing.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Let us know what you got out of this episode. Be sure to share it across all the platforms and let us know what you think.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed the episode as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. If you found this episode helpful in any way, I want to invite you to send it to someone who would benefit from it. Also, consider leaving a rate and review for the podcast, as it really does help the podcast get to the top of the recommendations list, so that even more people can get on the self-love train. Come follow me over on Instagram and TikTok at fortheloveof.self. That's at fortheloveof.self. Shoot me a message and let me know what your favorite takeaways were. I love meeting new people and watching them grow. And thank you again so much for tuning in today, as it really is an honor to be here with you. We'll catch you in the next one. Oh, and of course, don't forget to subscribe.